Greetings. Welcome to my channel. My name's Kaya. If you're new here, thank you for joining. If you've been watching the journey, thank you for watching the journey. Welcome back. So I am here really just to talk about different aspects of my journey so far, be that in relation to parenting, my hair, my practice. I don't really have a specific niche. I'm just here to share, and maybe the things that you hear from my videos will help you in some way. You can cherry pick what you want, leave what you don't. I am not offering any advice or guidance. I'm just sharing my journey, what has worked for me. Maybe that will work for you. But no, I'm not claiming to be any kind of professional in anything right now. I feel like I'm just, I don't know anything in the grand scheme of things. The more I learn, the more I realize, like, what do I know? So yeah, I'm just here to share my experience. Do with that what you will. So if you've been watching my videos so far, you will see that I've been trying to capture some of the realities of parenthood, specifically solo parenthood, that I just don't really see being spoken about, on the online platform in particular, but even, day to day, like, with your in-person interactions. So I'm here just to speak to some of those. Hopefully, they might provide a point of, like a point to relate to, somebody to relate to. Yeah, and however that helps you, if it helps you, then great. So I thought I'd take a break from that because I realized, it's a kind of experience that it's really hard to put into words. I think so far I've done maybe 2 or 3 videos specifically about, some realities day to day. In total, probably come up to like 2 hours worth of videos trying to speak on this, but it's so hard to capture in words. So I thought I'd take a little break. Maybe I'll go back to, trying to succinctly and coherently try and paint that picture. But for now, I wanted to share some things that I have implemented into my lifestyle that have helped me manage, and actually sometimes feel like I am thriving. I was on Instagram this morning and somebody shared a little video, whatever, of this lady saying, if you're raising a toddler right now, just accept that now is not your time to thrive. And I was going to reshare it because I was like, I definitely can relate to that, especially kind of being connected to so many people doing amazing things in the community, and me not really feeling like I'm giving anything to the community, even though I really want to. I honor my capacity, which is, minimal right now. And I lost my train of thought then. Yeah, I feel like I'm not, it left me feeling like, yeah, I'm not thriving. And I need to, accept that I'm not thriving. And then I checked myself. I was like, hang on a second, I'm not thriving in the sense that, the people that I'm surrounded by are thriving, like in their careers and, creating what they want to create, like traveling a lot, or, in their creativity, practice. So yeah, I'm not thriving in that sense. I just don't have the capacity to give to those areas of my life right now. But I'm thriving as a parent. Me and my daughter have such a beautiful life. So I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not gonna reshare that. It just made me, kind of shift my perspective a little bit, because it's so easy, especially on the online platform, just to get caught in like that self-comparison mode and feel like you should be doing more. But really, I've just recently learned to embrace exactly where I am. Like, one thing I noticed about myself is that I don't allow myself to be comfortable. Like, as soon as I feel like I find my feet, or I have like a little bit of space open up. I'm like, okay, next big thing. So, you know, just before my daughter turned 2, I was like, I felt like I'd found my feet, you know, with parenting. So I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to start dating now. You know, trying to work to this like specific timeline. Like, I want to have more children. I don't want to have a big gap. I need to be trying to meet someone now so we can have that time to, you know, get to know each other and build our foundation. And then, you know, I started dating, and then a few months later, she reached the really testing phase of age 2. And this is around about when I started making these videos again. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, dating takes, and I give and want to give a lot of energy to dating, because, you know, you got to be careful out there. You got to be on guard, especially when you're dealing with men. So I realized, you know, my daughter needs that energy, like, you know, all of my energy, pretty much. And outside that, you know, I am recovering. I've just started, you know, doing loads of stuff that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm only just having the space to actually be able to do that, you know. And the second time was, I think, maybe in the summer or just before the summer. I started to feel like, you know, kind of like some space was opening up. I was like, okay, let me sign up for university. You'll see in my one of my other videos that, yeah, I was meant to be starting at the end of September. And then it kind of was approaching that time, and I was like, hang on a second, like, I'm only just finding space to engage in these things that I've been wanting to engage in for a long time, and, you know, have the capacity, you know, have the rest of my capacity for my daughter with nothing else. You know, that is our capacity. Like, why would I, even though I was only going to be doing it part-time, I was like, why did I do that? Like, that's not going anywhere. I can study at any point in my life. Like, studying is not going anywhere. My career is not going anywhere. Like, I really do look forward to being able to get back out in the world, and like hold space for people. It helps me. Like, I just love doing it. But realistically, like, you know, I give more energy. I give so much energy to it, and I want to be giving that to my daughter and to myself, because I ain't going to get another opportunity like this. You know, I am going to have to go back to work at some point, whether I want to or not, whether I'm ready to or not. So, like, let me just enjoy and embrace, you know, this moment. But yeah, it's hard. It is overwhelming still. I just have that constant feeling like I could be doing more. And I notice in the periods when I delete Instagram, which, you know, that's another thing that I'll write to my list. I've had to write a list of points, because I go off on tangents, and I often, you know, forget what I'm saying halfway through and skip from point to point without finishing. So I have to make a list. So what was I going to write down? I've completely forgotten. Like, I don't know if that's like mom brain or overly caffeinated brain or neurodiversity at play, but I'm going to pause and remind myself what I was talking about and what I was going to add to my list. I couldn't bring it back to my mind. Anyway, so I just want to share some things that have helped me. As well, this is coming from a neurodiverse perspective, solo parent perspective. So take from this what you will. Some things may work for you, some things won't. The first one is being lists. Like, if I don't write something down, I just try really hard to keep it in my brain, and then sometimes it stays, sometimes it won't. But just getting things from my brain onto paper is something that I have to do with pretty much every aspect of my life. So I've got this one here to remind me what to talk about on here. I will give you a little tour. Not a tour. I'm just going to show you the other list. Now, these are quite ambitious. It's just mostly. So these are my lists for, you know, my practice, my daughter's practice, things to do, you know, with, you know, things that I do depending on where the moon is, what part of my, personal moon cycle I'm on. Not necessarily to kind of like check all those boxes, but just as a reminder. So on, one of them was after write a reminder, play with my daughter, stuff like that. And I do tick them off just so I can, not to make sure I'm doing it every day, but just when I glance at those lists, it makes me think, okay, when was the last time that I played with my daughter? If you watch one of the other videos, I was talking about how difficult it is to make time and find time for play. So it's, and like stuff like changing my bed sheets, changing my toothbrushes, things that I need to do like regularly and cyclically. I think back, I try and think back before I started writing everything down. I would try and think back, like, when did I last change my bed sheets? How long have I been using this toothbrush for? So there's stuff that I do weekly, stuff that I do monthly. The monthly stuff, it's more like, in time with, so things that I do around the new moon, which is kind of like more cleansing rituals, for example, like taking a bath on my own, and other stuff. I can't remember what's on there right now because it's not right in front of me. And stuff around the full moon, which is kind of like more releasing energy, and releasing kind of cleansing stuff, such as journaling and other stuff. Again, can't remember what else is on there. I should do, because it's a full moon today, so I need to kind of be working my way through that list. I also have for those mornings when I call it my overwhelm toolkit that I have next to my spot on the sofa. So, on those days when I am feeling overwhelmed, I struggle to get up from this spot. I'm on day 3 of my cycle today, so I'm just here in my big hoodie and pants. So I sit here, I'm not going to lean back because, preserve some dignity. But here, where is it? Is my overwhelm toolkit. So when I feel like I'm just stuck in that spot and I cannot see a way out, and I just want to stay there all day and feel sorry for myself, all I gotta do is look to the side, and on that list is, stuff like, I'll actually just read it out to you. Stuff like wash your face, brush your teeth, get dressed, wrap your head, music. So I have a morning playlist, which is just loads of great high energy songs. Next point is, what is the least overwhelming organizational task? See if I can do that. Write a gratitude list. Stretch, even just 10 minutes of stretching, just to get out of my head, from my body. Same thing with dance. I also use this app called Insights Timer, which I downloaded right at the start of my kind of like meditation journey back in 2015, for just a timer. But it has that, and loads of great settings that you can adjust. But also like thousands and thousands and thousands of different kinds of meditations from, teachers all over the world. There's like yoga and stuff on there. You can do courses. And I've just started making different playlists on there. So one of them's called Refill, which is a lot of like affirmation stuff. There is, I use Yoga Nidra, which is yoga of rest, I think is what it translates to. I find those with the frequency music in the background really helpful. Like, it's just, I was using it to go to sleep instead of watching TV. But on those days where I'm feeling really restless, but I know that I need to rest, I will just lie on the sofa. There's ones that are like 15 minutes long, some that I think are even shorter, but like a 30-minute long one is a good amount of time. and it guides your body into a state of complete rest. I don't think I've finished one without falling asleep yet, other than when I've had caffeine before I do it. So if you don't actually want to go to sleep, maybe don't do it at night or in bed, do it on the floor or something like that. I use essential oils. So my favorite blend when I'm feeling, when I need a bit of an uplift, is neroli oil. Neroli is a just natural mood booster. So I'll put that on my wrists and here, and then I rub lavender on my temples. So that's kind of brings the calming element as well. That's my favorite blend, and it smells amazing. There are some neroli oils that are kind of spicy, some that are a bit more kind of like floral, some that are a bit more fruity. It depends what carrier oil they use, and I guess what kind of what the plant that it is extracted from, where that is from and what breed of that, I guess. I don't even know if it's extracted from a plant. It might not be. I don't know. I ain't no expert. And then legs up the wall. So that's lying flat on your back with your bum against the wall. Lift your legs up vertically against the wall and rest there. If you can put cushions or something under your hips, so your hips are slightly elevated. That's really good for just giving your feet a rest, It sends the blood back in the direction of your heart, and I literally just feel my nervous system relaxing. As long as you actually, allow your legs to somewhat relax while they're up the wall. This is a position that, unless you practice, yoga or inversions or whatever, our legs are rarely up in the sky. It's great doing this against a tree and or just in the middle of the park, self-supporting your legs and shining the soles of your feet to the sun is really beautiful. But we're in November in England, so that's not happening right now. But in the summer, that's a great thing to do. If that's not accessible to you, you can lie on your bed or on the sofa or even on the floor and just put a stack of cushions or books or anything and rest your calves on them. So it's just, you got your legs bent, just so your feet are elevated. Again, you can have your back flat on the floor or with something under your hips to elevate them, just to increase that flow of circulation and oxygen back to the upper part of your body. And the last one on the list is, what is the most accessible creative activity? So I have so many. I've got a list for things I want to create. I kind of look through those lists, or just look around me. Most of the stuff that I want to do is on show, which doesn't help the overwhelm. I'm aware of that. And yeah, but I find once I've washed my face and brushed my teeth and got dressed and maybe wrapped my head, maybe put on some music, after that point I feel great. So this helps, just have that in a spot where you will see it in those moments. I chose that spot on the sofa because on those days when I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's really like that. We wake up on a morning, make our cacao, and then sit on the sofa. I don't do anything before doing that. And it's my favorite part of the day, especially when I get to enjoy that with my daughter, because she has her little cacao as well, and her little slurping noises are so cute. But yeah, that is always where I get stuck. Another thing is just this has been a huge help on my journey, is doing things just for fun. So I've recently started, I guess maybe just before the summer, I think 3. I mean, I bought my first pair of skates just before I found out I was pregnant. I started with inline skates because I've known a group of inline skaters probably for a year before that, but I just slept on getting my skates. I was like, I'll do it when I'm ready. And as soon as I was ready, I fell pregnant. So couldn't really do much in that sense through pregnancy, obviously. And then I probably could have gotten back to it had I given it any thought, one of definitely the first summer, she could have been in a pram while I had a little skate around, but I was decorating my flat at that point. And then the second summer, we were away for most of it, like out of the country. And after that was just, it took a long time to recover, actually. It was a really intense trip. But yeah, I only really started giving it thought, come this summer. When I guess she reached the age where I could do it with her. I'm like, oh, we could do it together. But now we started doing it, it's like, oh man, I wish I started coming here earlier. Yeah, so only really started skating again consistently, I think probably like May time. Yeah, after my 30th birthday, I started going back to the skate group. And doing that once a week, and over maybe like the past few weeks I've started dedicating time to try and go out on a skate on my own, because I know it's kind of like I can make the connections in my brain and body much easier when it's not like a group of people and we have like music playing and stuff. And with that, like with anything, when you're a complete beginner, especially when it comes to using your body in a way that you can, there's a risk. You have to stay focused. I notice as soon as I start thinking about something else while I'm skating, that's when I'll wobble or fall. And now that I'm feeling more confident on different ground textures, like road surfaces and, whatnot, I can like just have my earphones in and I can just like skate around. It's so freeing, and then sometimes going to like roller discos. Roll and Vibe if you're in Manchester, every other Sunday, and also I guess like do like a Saturday night link up once a month, something like that, once every couple of months. So they're a lot of fun. They definitely are a vibe. Put a little plug in there if you want to try follow them, get involved. I would plug my skate group, but I don't want you guys knowing where to find me every week, so I'm not going to do that. But it's a great little group and I love it. If there weren't so many weird stalkers in the world, I would let you know where that was and who we are. So address the patriarchy if you have a problem. I started pole dancing. I was meant to start pole dancing back in 2020 when I got back from the States. But I got back from the States. I found a course that I was going to do with my friend and everything, starting on my birthday that year, like a month or so later after getting back. And then a week after I landed, we went into lockdown. And then during lockdown, had a baby. So yeah, just started doing that. I think I bought a introductory taster pack, like one-on-one with a trainer. What month will that be? That'll have been in summer sometime again. May, I think I started all this at the same time in May. May, June time. And then started a dance class, Shy Girl Manchester. My trainer, Andrea the Siren from Sirens Exclusive, little pocket rocket. She's so much fun. Based in Manchester City Centre. And dancing Shy Girl Manchester in Powerhouse Moss Side. Just then, like, it was my pole instructor who shared. I was like, just from the name, I was like, that is my kind of dance class. I've been wanting to try choreographed dance for a long time as well. Did a little bit of like street dance when I was younger, but didn't last long because, the class I was going to stopped because there wasn't enough attendance, because there was, let me not go down that route. Let's just say I grew up in a predominantly white area. So yeah, not many people fill in the class. So yeah, started all those, I guess right at the start of summer. And pole, even though my body is strong and flexible, so I thought, I'd be all right. Obviously I knew my upper body strength was, not great. I've built upper body strength in a particular way, lifting a child, but not, it's different on a pole. Like, it showed me all my weaknesses. I've been able to kind of like, I don't do much conditioning because I don't like it. I like the effects of it. I know it's important, but I swerve it, and it's not good, and I've known it's not good for a while. I hope this is still picking up the sound okay. Sorry if all that sound was really bad. Yeah, so once I got on the pole, that showed me everywhere that I've been slipping on. But it's so much fun, and I don't do it as consistently as I would like, because it takes a lot of energy, which often I don't have. But I invested in a pole for my home, because I knew as soon as I got on that pole for the first week with the trainer, I was like, I can't just be doing this once a week. It's addictive, because it's a completely new way of moving, and like you can just feel the strength building every minute that you're practicing. And with the dance, that's a real challenge for my brain. Like I do two different kinds of dancing. I do the choreograph kind of like, it's like a heels class. So the style kind of varies, but it's always in heels. Some weeks we'll do like old school dance hall. Some weeks it'll be more like pop. Sometimes, like R&B, mostly R&B and like Afro beats, so, Soraya, the instructor and choreographer, she's great, and she's got a diverse style. So I've not been able to go for a while because it's not worked out with my daughter's sleepover days. But that has challenged my brain, because I do that, and I do traditional West African dance. So I do fine with stuff that's like kind of like repetitive, like you repeat it a few times and move on to the next thing. I can pick that up, and I find it very, meditative. But with the choreographed dance, it's such a challenge for my brain, because you're doing like all these complex moves, different one every time. So there's not much repetition. And my brain's quite slow to process. So I find it really, really, really challenging, but also want to keep doing it, because we should do more of the things that challenge us. But it's incredibly challenging for me. But on those days, I think I can only go to that class, at certain stages of my like personal moon cycle, because in the last class I went to, I was in my autumn, like coming up to my winter. So for those who aren't familiar with that kind of terminology, I was about to start my period, basically. And I found my brain gets really foggy, it's fatigued. I'd not had any coffee that day either, just to kind of like boost. And it was a song that I really liked, so I think I put like extra pressure on myself to, smash the routine. And I was really excited for the class, and I got that. I just couldn't do it. Could not do it. So I've not been for a while. I'm going to go the next time I'm able to, but that's a really great class, especially if, it's for beginners anyway. But, especially if you are a shy girl. I'm a shy girl. And just dancing with a bunch of other shy girls is great. It's like the vibes are on point. So yeah, if you're in the area, if you're able to go and support, please do. Soraya is an amazing teacher, and it's a lot of fun, great for your body. And I'm only able to do all of this stuff since having the sleepovers. Since my daughter started having sleepovers at her grandparents' house. And yeah, she's in daycare 2 days a week, but yeah, I have to like on those 2 days that I have to myself, I go to a pole class, I go to a dance class, and I go skating. And then one of the dance classes, the West African dance class, I can take her with me, but it's difficult. She's not really the kind of kid that will just sit and just kind of like take it in or stay entertained. If I put on something to watch for her on Netflix, she doesn't want to be involved. She doesn't want me to be involved. She's like, Mom, come and sit with me. Or so yeah, it's difficult to get to both of those. But those things have really, really helped me. Just being a beginner at stuff, it's really taken me. My brain is spending a lot of its capacity picking that stuff up, so it's a lot less time spent, kind of like dwelling on the past, which, I do get into those states sometimes. Writing poetry is another one. I used to write when I was very young. And then from my, like, just before I turned a teenager, I think probably around age 11, 12, was when I stopped doing anything creative. I used to write, I used to draw, paint, dance, read all the time. I stopped all of that right up until I was like in my early 20s. I think reading kind of gave me the words for it, and I think I was in a state of functional freeze where you're kind of just like in this survival mode, but you're still functioning. So it's the kind of thing that's easy not to recognize. But when I think back to that time, I was like, yeah, just trying to connect. I was peer orientated, so like trying to connect to my peers, and yeah, survive in the world really. But yeah, starting to write and see poetry as a practice. Again, well, for the first time really, like I would write, but then I kind of like always taught myself out of writing because I'd be thinking of writing. I'd be like, I don't know how to turn this into a poem. Like I would try and write about everything in one poem rather than like picking one little kind of like snippet or glimmer of like life or experience or whatever it is that I want to write about and expanding on that. I think I just get so overwhelmed at everything that I want to share. And then paralyze myself. So I've been reading more blogs on, how to like practicing literary devices again. And I also was very critical of my style of writing because it's kind of how I speak, which is quite, like plain. I'm not really a storyteller, I don't think. I don't use like metaphors well. And when I, listen to, like slam poetry or, people who write in this really kind of like abstract and creative ways, like I can't do that. And I thought, poetry had to be like, what mine wasn't, until I started reading. I think I picked up a Charles Bukowski book at the poetry library and started reading like Rupi, never know how to pronounce her surname, Kaur. Very like simplistic style of poetry, but really, poignant at the same time. And it reminded me, I was like, okay, I can do this, I was putting so much pressure on myself to, be writing a style that wasn't for me, that I just wasn't doing it. So yeah, just kind of trying to own my style a bit more, started sharing that, which was really scary. Not scary, no. It was quite nerve-wracking because I write, about personal stuff. Like all poetry is, raw expression of yourself, and your experience. So it doesn't need to be anything other than that. But then sharing that is, it's pretty nerve-wracking. But yeah, it was a big step out of my comfort zone. It's been well received, and it's felt good for me sharing it. Because part of my practice is learning how to express myself. A lot of kind of like my mental health challenges are rooted in not being able to express myself growing up, not being allowed to. And then, so yeah, now I'm just like, whatever way, like express yourself, share it, like I've journaled quite consistently again, other than that period that I spoke about before. Just getting things from the brain out onto paper really helps. It does offload. The next thing is stepping away from self-help. So the majority of my reading for a long time, again, probably since like 2015, when I kind of started on this self-awareness journey, is reading a lot of self-help. And it's helpful. It's called self-help for a reason, because it's really helped me to find words for a lot of my experience and help me, find words for things that I need to watch out for when I'm, relating with people. Words from my past experience. Without words, it's kind of hard to know what's going on. You're just kind of experiencing it, you're not really thinking anything of it. But then that, and also, like spirituality reading, learning about like African spirituality, ancient African spirituality, practicing Kemetic yoga, and multiple other kind of different forms of traditional movement, spirituality practices, just kind of, yeah, going back to the roots a bit more. So that was all of my reading for a long time. But you know, that's what I'm consuming. So that's what was at the forefront of my mind. And I just felt like I was like I ended up starting feeling like I was just psychoanalyzing everything and just always paying attention to like little nuances of people's behavior and my own behavior and words. And I was just doing my own head in. I felt like it was all I could think about, all I could talk about. So yeah, taking a big step back away from that kind of reading more poetry, or just not reading anything at all, and just integrating the things that I've consumed from that learning and that study into life and just embodying it more. You know, it felt like a lot of, you know, mind stuff, like intellectual knowing of all this stuff. And it's like, okay, I understand now what's going on. I understand the roots of, you know, my issues, and, you know, like I couldn't understand, I overstand what's gone on in my past. And like, now what? You know, what do I do with all this information? And then, yeah, it's a very important stage is finding the words and doing the reading about it. A lot of people avoid it. You know, for whatever reason, self-help has like negative connotations to it. And it's like, why would you not want to help yourself? But yeah, so that's an important stage, you know, of, you know, your healing personal development journey is finding the words, doing the reading, you know, having like counseling, therapy or whatever. But then actually has to be integrated and embodied. And I think that's very hard to do when you are constantly just reading about it. It takes you just back into your brain. So yeah, stepping away from self-help reading and spirituality reading, there's always just like a constant conflict between what some of those teachings are and the lessons are in that reading and the actual human experience. You know, I find there's a lot of like bypassing, certainly in the spirituality reading as well, spirituality like study as well. I just started to notice a lot of just bypassing myself, and even when having conversations about it, and I'm still just trying to find the balance between that, because everything that's said in those books and, you know, in the teachings is valid, and it helps us like break free from this suffering. But then at the same time, like, we are humans having a human experience, so that needs to be recognized and honored. And I think I've tried writing about this on one of my posts before, but yeah, there is a balance to be found. There is a balance to be found, because there's a lot of, you know, people in kind of like the spirituality kind of inclined pocket of this city where I had to stop and think a little bit about what I'm actually trying to say there, but I can just make that more general rather than relating to people in the city. But yeah, I've just had experiences with people where they're in this kind of like, you know, mind state where, you know, they're like, live life for yourself and, you know, move at your own pace. You don't, you know, like clock time, you know, is just a concept, that kind of energy. Again, which is true, but then when you're kind of like working with people and trying to make a plan, it can end up being a bit just like inconsiderate almost, or like, and disrespectful of other people's time and energy. So I had a few experiences of that, and just that's just one example of kind of like the thing. Being neurodiverse is really frustrating, because I've forgotten the point that I was like trying to loop back to. But yeah, essentially what I'm saying is stepping away from just reading that and intellectualizing it and being able to regurgitate and speak about it, and actually kind of embodying it and building those relationships in which, you know, those kind of teachings and that mindset is embodied. So you still, you know, working on your spiritual personal development, but also you're honoring your human existence and the things that do come with that. So, you know, communication, basically, in a whole. In saying that, I have recently started listening to an audiobook by Gabor Mate called Hold On To Your Kids, and I guess that would be classed as self-help. I just put it on when I am putting my daughter to bed, and when I'm doing the dishes, because age 2 has humbled me. It has humbled me. I didn't read any, you know, like parenting books or, you know, pregnancy books when I was pregnant, because I didn't want to intellectualize the process. And I felt like, you know, because I was 11 when my little brother was born, and I was quite hands-on with him. I was like, I feel like I kind of know the basics, and I knew that there's nothing that could prepare me for childbirth. I was working with a doula, so, you know, she was kind of giving me information, and, you know, she supported me on that part of it. But yeah, I didn't read any books. As well, I was kind of in a bit of a state of dissociation because of what I was, you know, dealing with at that time. Outside of my doula sessions, I was like, wanted to just kind of live life, you know. I was just watching a lot of TV and resting and kind of like trying to get into my body. I didn't really want to think about being pregnant because it was a bit of a wild time, to be honest. So I've just started listening to Hold On To Your Kids, because I'm at that stage now. I was like, I don't remember my little brother being this age. I'm not in contact with my mum, so I can't ask her. I'm not in contact with any of my relatives, really, anyway. So I don't really feel there's people that I can ask who have a similar mindset anyway. You know, I speak to my friends who have children older than me or similar age, you know, people who've been parents before. So I just feel like I need some guidance. So I was like, let me, and I've like people share, you know, a lot of this Gabor Mate's work online, like little bite-sized clips. And I was like, okay, and I've watched a few of them. Like, okay, seems to know what he's talking about. So let me listen to that. And so I'm not far into it, but so far it's hitting the spots, you know, because we're at that stage now where I realize that I use TV as a crutch. I've tried to do it other ways, but it is so exhausting and my stress levels get so high. That doesn't feel good for anyone. So I really just want to figure out how to break away from that, because the ways that I'm doing it intuitively aren't working. And I'm being really patient, but it's hard, you know, like when my daughter is experiencing the brunt of my irritability, you know, when I'm trying to, you know, for example, get her dressed or get her to eat some food without having the TV on, I just resort to bribery. Because that's the only thing that works. You know, I'll have the TV on, she'll refuse to let me brush her teeth, refuse all of the different tactics, like, you know, do you want to do it yourself, or explain to her, you know, the things that we have to do in the morning and the evening. I've tried all of that. Trust me, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and sometimes it's just not the time for it. So I've resorted to having her favorite shows on when we're getting dressed for those, like, now it only takes like 10 minutes rather than like an hour and a half. So it's working, but also I'm like, this isn't good. I know in my soul it's not good. I'm like the you know, subtle things that's teaching her is not good. I don't want to do it. So yeah, I started this audiobook, and it's helping. I'm not going to try and regurgitate what I've learned so far, but if you can relate to that part, I can recommend it. It's talking about, at the moment, I'm up to the chapter where it's talking about reclaiming your parental power, which may sound a bit, I don't know, dominating. It's not talking about trying to dominate. It's actually talking about, you know, not dominating, and talking about the natural power, reclaiming the natural power you have as a parent, to So like these dominating tendencies, we don't need to resort to them, you know, because it's natural. It's become from the natural attachment between you and a child, and just reclaiming that, because often it's lost. So that's one recommendation. Doing one thing at a time. So you've seen the extensiveness of my lists. I do one thing at a time, looking at those lists, or thinking about everything I have to do as a whole, especially when there's like unexpected things added to that. For example, you know, I picked her up from daycare the other day, and she's got like a pair of like Ugg boots that I got her off Vinted to wear in these colder months, and she had an accident. She doesn't wear nappies anymore, rarely has accidents, but yeah, she had an accident at the childminders while she was wearing her boots. I was like, how do I even clean up boots? And so yeah, they're all wet, covered in pee. So like little stuff like that, and like when she like comes home and makes like just goes on the warpath, like little things that get added to the list. Like if I'm already thinking about all of the stuff that I need to do, and something extra like that gets added in, it's even more overwhelming. It's overwhelming. So yeah, tackling one thing at a time, like, okay, you know, what's the next most important thing that I need to do? Or I've got 20 minutes, what do I want to do with that 20 minutes? I've got an hour, what do I want to do with that hour? Thinking of it like that, rather than thinking, okay, I'll do this, and I'll do that, and I'll do that, and that's going to lead to this. Because yeah, for my little brain, well, not little, but you know, full brain, yeah, trying to do it all, trying to think of doing it all is just not the one. And I think this is the last point, and I'd like to do a separate video talking about this, but I already feel a bit nervous even speaking about it here. But one of the main things that have helped me stay sane, and continuing not getting so consumed by all of the craziness of life, is smoking weed and using psychedelics. I've used them in varying quantities through pregnancy, and all the way through, really up to now, with periods of, you know, a few weeks up to a few months of not having anything. But they have been the guiding force behind how easily I can implement all of these things. And that's really hit home over the last maybe like week or so, week and a half, when I have ended a period of not consuming marijuana, because I was just so irritable. Like my hormones, I notice I get PMS symptoms pretty much from just before I ovulate up until maybe like the second or third day of my bleed. That's like about 2 weeks, 2+ weeks. And there'll be maybe like a couple of days in that time where I don't feel irritable, and I'm not just feeling like at the end of my tether. But this last cycle, when I wasn't smoking any weed, I got to a point where like my stress levels were just constantly high, and I was like, the littlest thing would just like tip me over the edge. And of course, poor little miss was experiencing all of that. And I just like, I made the decision to start, you know, to load up the vape. When she started these new delay tactics when I'm trying to brush her teeth. And they're really cute, you know. We'll go through the whole rigmarole of me, you know, offering her where she wants to brush her teeth, if she wants me to do it, or if she wants me to do it first or her to do it first. All of that, finally get her onto her step, with her mouth open, to brush her teeth. And she'll do like this cough, go, and it's like, water. Run down off a step, run to get a water bottle, drink the water, have to start the whole process again to get her up the steps to the sink to brush her teeth. Get the toothbrush like close to her mouth. She's got her mouth open. She's like, I want kisses, I want cuddles. When I wasn't smoking any weed, I would like, I felt like I was about to implode. And I catch myself, I was like, hang on, she's being so cute and so affectionate, like, and I'm here like raging. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, yes, it is frustrating because we have places to be, and I don't want to spend 20 minutes. That is literally on average how long it takes me to brush a teeth, is 20 minutes rather than 2 minutes brushing your teeth. Like, I'm an impatient person naturally. But I was like, this is just too stressful, and doing that twice a day. I was like, let me just load up the vape and try and simmer down a little bit. And I just felt my heart opening, you know, and I just laugh along with her now. Like, I don't smoke from waking to sleeping, you know, like the first half of the day at least. I'll tend to, you know, have my first little bit when it's quiet time or when I put her down for a nap. That's when I'll tend to start, and that's if she naps, it's usually maybe like 1:30, 2:00. But yeah, most of the time these days she doesn't nap. So yeah, and then for the rest of the day, yeah, I am moving at a slower pace, but like I just feel my nervous system is more relaxed. And I can laugh at these, you know, I can see the funny side in this really challenging phase that we're in right now. You know, she's 3 in a couple of months, so really using her voice, you know, which I wouldn't have it any other way, because that's how I've raised her to be, and I'm going to continue raising her to, you know, use her voice, and you know, allow her to hold on to that autonomy that she has. You know, it's like our parenting journey, even though, you know, obviously I have the responsibility of keeping her safe and everything, it is very collaborative. But yeah, you know, there's times when that has its challenges, of course. So yeah, weed has just helped me to yeah, just enjoy it and stay balanced through it. I definitely need that assistance. At the same time, I can't have it every day. Like, I do have to take those breaks, because when I do have it every day, I find myself getting really lazy, really anxious. And I don't smoke green weed. I just have brown weed from Africa. Apparently, that's what the guy says. But very mellow. It's not, you know, super crystally or, you know, like the crondons or anything. It's very mellow. As far as I'm aware, it's grown naturally under the sun. And I use a vape, like a dry herb vape. So I use the actual herb, but no tobacco. So it's a much cleaner way of smoking, much lighter. And, you know, my supply lasts for ages. Psychedelics, I don't really microdose. I used to, but I wouldn't follow any particular protocol. I might go a few weeks following a particular protocol and say at the beginning, you know, I'm going to follow this protocol for the next month, the next 3 months, however much. But then I'll get maybe like a few rounds or whatever a few weeks in. And I won't feel like I need to have them anymore. So I mostly do it intuitively, following the 1 day on, 2 days off, or do it cyclically in line with my personal moon cycle. And that's just it. You know, it peels back the layers. It opens you up. They literally open up your heart. The mushrooms. So yeah, I haven't microdosed probably since the spring, maybe even before that. But I try and take a higher dose journey once every season. So about every 3 months. And I always know when I'm due a journey, because I'll get in this really dark state of mind, and I can see no way out. I'm like, okay, this is my life. This is how I am, you know, just become quite, you know, is the word nihilistic about life and myself. Even though like in my mind I'm implementing all this stuff, that I've just spoken about, but doesn't really feel like it's doing anything, that's when I know I'm ready to take a journey. And I will create I don't have my daughter when I do that. I make sure she's sleeping over so I can really just have that time, and then the following day to integrate, or do the immediate integration. Like the integration is ongoing. But yeah, again, they peel back the layers. You get deeper and deeper and deeper into your core, and like the way that I don't have a sitter or anything. I prefer to do it just on my own, like in my flat. I create my container, and I always about like spending a bit of time in bed and then spending a bit of time in the bath. They're like the key points. Like it's always the most transformational bath in the world. Like I just come out, a whole like. It's not even like intellectual knowing of anything. Like I spend most of the journey with my eyes closed. I don't really, like the visuals are fun and everything, but that's not really what I do it for. It takes me away from kind of like the real stuff that's happening for me. So, I close my curtains. I put on some like frequency music, like my candles, and just maybe I have like my sketchbook or my journal out and start off on my yoga mat. And yeah, just take that whole day just to be in that space. And the bath's the last part. I always, it's like a felt sense of, the things that are kind of like my affirmations, like just, I feel loved, and I'm not like in my brain, like reminding myself, convincing myself that I am loved and that I love myself. Like I can just feel it in my body. And I feel like I've got my shit together. like I have a beautiful home, my beautiful routine, everything. I have an abundance of, the things that I need other than sleep and, maybe some day-to-day support, but I have everything that I need. And I have an absolutely phenomenal little baby daughter, but I feel that, so it's different than kind of like just knowing it in your brain and kind of convincing yourself mentally, and then that tends to remain, and I'm not even going to try and go into, the whole integration process or anything like that, but that's something that's really helped me. Of course, I'm not advocating for you to do any of this. I'm just saying that is what's helped. It's frustrating though in this country, when I did do a microdosing course, I guess, like had a period where I was microdosing at the start of the year or the end of last year. I was doing EMDR therapy at the time, and it was in a break between some sessions, maybe like a month break. And when I went back, I was like, I feel great, but I couldn't. You can't tell these people that's why you feel great, So that's the frustrating thing about it. It's quite hard if you are having, therapy, unless you really, really trust your therapist, which I don't really trust them. I go through the NHS to get it, or like, funded places to get it. I don't have that trust there. That's why I'm nervous about speaking around here. You don't know who's gonna like, I know I've spoken to people who do speak openly about their psychedelic use online. I'm like, how do you find the courage to do that? Obviously because it's, against the law, essentially. It's like, well, thought police, isn't it? You can't get arrested for it. It's your thoughts. So, pray for me. But it's also being a woman, being a mother, there's so much stigma, there's so much judgment, and you don't know how people are going to weaponize the information that you share. So we'll see. I may even just edit this video and edit all of that out. I don't know, but yeah, they're the things that have helped me. I've been talking for an hour, so I'm gonna peace out. Stay blessed, stay hydrated. See you in the next video.